Hi, everyone. Carmine Danisco here. We are on the Launch Network. I have an awesome guest today. We got some really cool stuff we're going to talk about. Her name is Marcy McKenna, and she is part of the invention world for so long. I want to hear this story, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what she's got going with women inventors. Hey, Marcy, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Carmine. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. So glad to finally catch up with you. I know we were scheduled to do some shows, and with all this craziness going on in the world, it's hard to really schedule a time where we could sit down and just talk.
I know. I was really looking forward to this. So I'm glad we were able to finally make it happen.
Yeah, I know you're out in California area. You're safe from the fires and things like that that's going on, and you're enjoying the nice weather on. Because this must be a great time out in California.
It is beautiful. It's actually a big heat wave right now where it's almost unbearably hot. But I'm excited to say that I'm heading out to Cabo San Lucas tomorrow. So that for a little R&R. I'm
awesome.
braving the travel world.
That's one thing. Well, we're going to get into the travel stuff. I mean, it's so cool to talk to you about travel but it's so nice, in the California area to just be like, oh, we're just going to go to Cabo San Lucas, or it's so nice to be able to just jet set around, I guess.
There are a lot of they say in the same day you can go skiing, go to the desert, go to the beach, go hiking in the mountains.
Wow.
It's all within a couple hours. So it is a great spot. We have our challenges here, as the country knows.
Yes.
But there's a lot of great parts to it.
Very cool. Sure. Well, good. Well, let's talk a little bit about your past. I was reading a little bit about you. We had talked a little bit about, and you have so much cool stuff going on. Why don't you just give us some background of kind of how you got started and I'm an inventor, so I get to say this crazy business of inventing.
It is a crazy business. It's so much fun. I'm super passionate about it, so I love it. But there's ups and downs and interesting people. And I actually was born into a family of inventors. My great-grandfather was a big-time inventor. He actually invented the delay switch for the bomb in World War II. So in other words, before he invented that, when a pilot would drop a bomb, the airplane would explode and the pilot would be killed. And interestingly, the government put this challenge out to all of the big corporations trying to find a solution to it, to Hughes Air West at the time. And I forget all the corporations, but my great-grandfather in his garage actually solved it using a aspirin. And the aspirin, basically it was the time it took to dissolve the aspirin was the solution that he used to create the delay switch.
Wow.
And that was what he was all about, is he always created, in his garage with the stuff that he had, some of the coolest inventions and solutions. And so when I started inventing for real, I named my company simply Solve Innovations, because that was kind of my thing too. Is I'm not a rocket scientist. I don't claim to be. I really love creating simple solutions to everyday problems. And as a mom of 3, there are a lot of everyday problems in my life. And full-time career, I have a lot there. I travel a lot, so that has really enabled me to invent some really fun things. And I've crossed multiple categories. I've developed products into big box retailers. My biggest part of my career is home shopping. And so right now I have a line of products at HSN. I'm getting ready to launch into TSC Canada. But I've also worked with QVC, and then I also built a home and travel category from the ground up at a company called Joyous, which was an online retailer that they had a really cool idea of tying a video to every product they sell. So an editorial style video where they would have an expert in whatever that category was talk, very authentically about whatever it was that they were selling. Yeah. And it did really well. It was a lot of fun and taught me a lot. I developed, probably 25 different products for them. Wow. During my stint there. And my real start, kind of a fun story, in the inventing world when it became official. As I said, I'm born into a family of inventors, so I've really been doing it my whole life. But it happened about 10 years ago when I went on an invention reality show that Kelly Ripa was doing with TLC. and that was called Homemade Millionaire. And she was essentially looking for female inventors that had a product that could launch on HSN. And so, you know, long story short, I auditioned and ended up winning. And that was what opened the door for me at HSN. And so the winner got to have her product, or actually got to go on air and sell her product live on HSN.
Wow.
So that was the beginning.
that is some beginning. Was that something that you were like ready? You know what's great about invention, and I'm just kind of jumping all over the place, is the invention world. You never know what's around the corner. I mean, you're getting 20 no's, no, and then all of a sudden there's a reality TV show and you're on it all of a sudden. Were you just like, oh my God?
Well, and Carmine, that's how fast it happened. It was interesting. My husband's business had taken a turn. He's a screenwriter, producer, and the Writers Guild went on strike. And that was a scary time where we didn't know how long they were going to be on strike, and he wasn't allowed to work. And so I got scared. You know, I had three little ones at the time. And I thought, you know what? I had been keeping this white binder filled with in my invention ideas, was not going to do anything about it anytime soon because I had all my kids and I was, you know, as busy as I could be at that time. But I thought, you know what? It's time that I get that binder out and I pick an invention and I make it happen. And that very night that I made that decision, the whole house was asleep and I went to my computer to start, you know, hammering away. And I literally, while I was doing a Google search, this audition for the Kelly Ripa show popped up. And I thought, that is serendipity. Like, I've got to do this. And so I noticed that the casting call had already closed. And I thought, oh no, what am I going to do? But I woke up in the morning, I tracked down the production company and I begged for me to I said, I'll overnight a tape in. They reluctantly agreed. And then kind of ironically, it ended up being the winning invention.
Wow.
So that's
amazing.
Yeah. It's kind of a cool story.
You know, the universe threw that to you. I mean, it was meant to be.
I really feel like it. And now when I look at the path my life has taken, and it's like everything aligned the way it was supposed to. Now, I don't want to make it sound like it was perfect because there were so many obstacles, as you know, with inventing. And like you just said, lots of no's, lots of failure moments for sure, but a lot of super exciting stuff. And now, you know, I'm in a really good place and where I feel like I'm excited to kind of, you know, I'm so excited to be on the show, to be able to reach out to inventors who are where I was and be able to kind of share my experience and my journey and my resources and processes and, you know, to help them take that same leap and hopefully have a shorter path to get there by drawing on my experiences, my successes, my failures.
Wow.
All of that.
What, and there's so much. As you're talking, I'm just like, I don't want to cut you off, but there's so much happening.
Oh,
what was that product that you went on the Kelly Ripa show with? What was it?
So that particular product ended up being called the Style and Go Hair Care Valet. And what it was a wall-mounted cabinet, very much like a sort of restoration hardware looking medicine cabinet that hangs on the wall. But the kicker is that it was, I made it electrical, and the idea was that you store your hair care appliances in the same place that you use them from. So when you open the door, there's all organization built into it for a hair dryer, curling iron, straightening iron. Even for men, it would be electric toothbrush, electric razor. Idea being it takes all of the clutter and the cords off of your bathroom counter and puts them up in the cabinet. And because it's electrical, there's a whole cord management system in there. You don't have to, you know, fumble for plugs all the time. So it was kind of an all-in-one solution. You close the door, everything powers down, and you're off. So it saves you time and declutters the bathroom and saves space.
Wow.
So that was the original. Wow. And you know, an interesting story with that, speaking of challenges, is, as I said, you're supposed to launch it on HSN after you win. Oh. Well, my air date was approaching and we were nowhere near ready to launch. And HSN was panicking and I was panicking, and they said, what other products do you have? Is there something else we can launch with? And so I said, wow, funny you should ask. I have a whole white binder filled with, and so we looked through it and we found one that made a lot of sense for the HSN customer. It was a interchangeable handbag that let you take a single handbag and have multiple different looks by just changing out the front panel of it. So if you're traveling, you could bring, 8 different handbags and it takes up the space of just one, was the idea.
Cool.
So that was a lot of fun. I got to work with they paired me with a high-end handbag designer. And so I got to learn that world a little bit, and we worked really fast in order to have it ready for the launch. And we pulled it off by the skin of our teeth.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because a lot of inventors, including myself when I first started years ago, think that if I just have this idea, it's just going to go, somebody's going to I'm going to get it on TV. I'm going to put it in retail stores. They don't see that it's a lot of work. I mean, what you're talking about, condensing that into that amount of time, that is an unbelievable feat.
Yes. And I had no idea, because I think when you start off inventing, you don't know what you don't know. And as you get into it, it's like, it can be just so daunting. And there's so many steps to it that if you're not educated on the process and you don't know also which step to do when, it can, you can waste a lot of time and a lot of money. And, those are some of the things that I'm hoping to help other people avoid, because it can be, and depending on the category, this was electrical. So there was, those kind of issues with, UL and there was a lot to it that I did not anticipate. Yeah. We did end up launching it eventually on HSN, and we launched it into Lowe's and Sharper Image and Bed Bath & Beyond. And so we ended up doing really well with it. It was a lot of fun. It's kind of, I've tabled it for the time being, because I'm kind of moved on to some other things that I'm really excited about, but that was my baby.
Now, and I'm not trying to be sexist in any way, but when you were doing this, inventors were kind of like these old white guys in their garage making stuff, right? I mean, did you find out, like, man, how am I going to do this?
Yes, that's such a great point, because I found when I would go and meet with people, I didn't feel like I was taking that seriously. I'm a mom, and I'm, with an idea basically, and not a whole lot of knowledge behind me. And, I did feel like it was a bit of a boys' club and a man's world, and I was trying to get in there. So because of that, I was forced, I think, to do a lot of it on my own. I wasn't able to outsource in the way that I think, I mean, definitely I do now. I've learned to do that, but at the time it was quite intimidating for me. Yeah. And so, Carmen, you and I spoke about during COVID, I came across a statistic that really startled. I mean, it was staggering to me that evidently 4% of the patents filed in America today are filed by women. And, patents, that's a whole nother show. I mean, I believe in them at the right time, but I also think inventors can make a lot of mistakes with them and don't always need them. And so that's a whole nother show. But I kind of am on a sort of a passion project of sorts where I want to change that statistic and turn it upside down. And the reason why so let me back up for a second and say, while 4% of patents are filed by women, the other statistic that really bothered me is I dug deeper and I said, I wanted to know, let's put patents to the side. How many females are just bringing products to market with or without a patent? So that was important for me to find out. And evidently the statistics I'm finding is about 18%. So that's a little better, but it's still not where it should be. And I read an article that said for us to get to the point of equality in the inventor world, where it's, at least 50-50, the track that we're on at this very moment will be there in 118 years.
Oh my God.
And so I thought, you know what? I have so much knowledge, and I get where women have been, that you're intimidated. And if I can somehow reach them and teach them and empower them and give them the tools and the resources that they need to, as I said to you, kind of kick fear to the curb and go for it, that would be the most rewarding thing in the world to me. So I'm hoping to be able to do that and to and by being on your show, that's kind of my hope, is that there's females listening that will learn something and feel empowered to go for it.
Yeah, I agree. It's so great. And the thing about it that I ran into and you ran into, I was scared as hell. When I was inventing, it's not just women, it's not men, it's not. It's very emotional when you have an idea and you're going to tell somebody about it. You're going to make it. It's not just a physical product; it's emotional. And for women or men, you really have to surround yourself by positive people that really know how they can help you, right? I mean, you can't go to your neighbor and ask what the next step is.
Right. Yep. And I think to your point, part of the fear for inventors, I think, comes from not wanting someone to steal their idea.
Mm.
I think that holds a lot of people back from taking the step. I mean, I can't tell you how many inventors reach out to me and they dance around like they don't want to tell me, but they want to get information. And I get it because I was there.
Yeah.
But at some point you got to leap, and you got to, when you feel like you're talking to the right people, get an NDA in place. If, I have other thoughts on those as well, but if that makes you feel better, but at some point, you got to take the leap in order to make it happen. But it is that fear of the unknown for sure, of, it seems like such a daunting process, and the fear of money, financing this thing. And so I think there's so much that you can do, in the initial steps to figure out whether it's worth taking the risk to invest money and time, to go all in with the product before you do it. And, I spoke a second ago about patents. I think so many people rush to patent and they will mortgage their house to get enough money to pay for this patent as the first step. And it's just so backwards. And it's so, I had one of my very best friends do that. And it was frustrating, even though I told her not to do it, she still felt the need to do it and spent a lot of money. And, it doesn't have to be that way. And it doesn't have to be so daunting. And so, when you break down the steps to it and you do it in the right order, there are ways to do it on sort of a shoestring budget. And there are ways to kind of compartmentalize the different steps so that it's not so daunting. And once you get into it, it's so much fun. Yeah. I mean, it really is. It's such a fun process. And when when a sample arrives of this thing that you put on a cocktail napkin, however long ago, there's nothing more exciting than that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the way you're talking is exactly right. When you do things smartly, you can actually have fun. If you're doing things fearfully all the time, every step you're scared and you're stressed, it's not fun. And that's why it's so great. And what I want our listeners to know is this isn't a theory with you. You do this every day. So I want women inventors to reach out to Marcy. I mean, this is not a theory. You have hundreds of products that you've taken to market.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is, as I said when we first started, I'm not a rocket scientist. My inventions really are fairly simple, but they serve a need. I look around and I think, is there something that could be being done better or more elegantly, or, just depending on who your customer is. So, some of the best inventions out there are things that already exist, but maybe they're not being done that well. And it could be so much better. And so I do a little bit of that. And then a lot of it's just, gosh, this is so annoying. I need to figure out, I wish there was a product that did this so that I could do this so much faster, so that I could save space or be more organized. So, none of my products are rocket science. Probably the most complex one was my first one, being that it was electrical. But, right now I'm doing innovative luggage. I'm doing cosmetic cases. I just launched a beauty case that's doing really, really well. And mirror, I do a makeup mirror that is really done well, and it's just got all kinds of innovative features built in. But again, based on what my issues were, I just thought, gosh, I wish it could do this and I wish it could do that. And so I designed it. And I'm not a great artist. Like, I don't want people to be afraid of all of those steps. I just sketch the best way I can. And, that's how you start.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is so great. And that's how again, not saying that you would, I know that you have done this the way you're talking about it, because it just flows out naturally to you because you're not scared of it not working. Is there a step that I have three ideas. What should I do before I go, and even obviously not a patent, but what should be my first one or two steps when I get an idea? I wake up 3 o'clock in the morning with this idea, what should I do?
So this is kind of a new thing for me, but I think it's really important, and maybe it's not important for everybody, but it's become a very important first step for me. And that is, I force myself to have a 48-hour waiting period. Because my mind is always spinning, coming up with ideas, and I get so excited, and I'm positive it's the next $1 million idea, and who wouldn't buy it? It's for everybody. And I'll jump into it and start spending all this time and energy and money. And then, however long later, I look back and I'm like, what was I thinking? That is so, so I've learned, and my husband kind of reminds me of this, 48 hours to really just sit with it and make sure that it's something that you want to do. So that's kind of just a Marcy thing. But beyond that, it's really, to me, it's proof of, it's validating the idea and validating that, first of all, that it doesn't already exist. And so it's going online. I think there has never been a better time to invent than right now, because there are so many resources out there that you can do everything for almost nothing just by going online and doing the research there. And, you used to have to hire a fancy lawyer to find out if, to dig and find out if something exists and if it's patentable or already patented. And you can do a lot of that legwork on your own right now. And so when I think I have a really good idea after my 48-hour waiting period, I will just get online and start searching and Googling, and, whether it's Google Patents or going to the USPTO or just going on to Amazon and Alibaba and AliExpress and just searching. And then if it does exist, a lot of people get discouraged and, okay, I can't do that. But that's not true most of the time. I mean, some of the time it is, but a lot of the time, as I was saying before, it's okay, well, it's out there, but I didn't know it existed. So someone's not doing a good job of marketing it. And maybe it's out there, but it's not nearly as good as what I've dreamed up. And so how can I take this and, make it my own and add features that will enhance it and then market it in a way that's going to get it out there? And so that validation process of thinking of those elements and whether that's something that you can do with that product is super important. And I take it a step further, and sometimes I'll do SurveyMonkey where I used to do friends and family and do little focus groups at my house with all the people I know, but it really is true that they love me, and they're going to just, they don't want to hurt my feelings, and they're all going to tell me they would buy it, and what a great idea. But when you put a survey out there that's anonymous, people can really say what they want, and would they buy it, and if they would, how much would they spend? And that's super important, and it's so easy to do nowadays that why not? I think a lot of people don't do that step because it's almost like they're afraid to hear. That, they're afraid that someone won't buy it, but you need to know that, because you don't want to waste time and energy. If this is not a viable product, don't you want to know early on rather than, when you've spent all this money on a prototype or a patent, God forbid.
Yeah, no doubt. There's no doubt. You're exactly right. I mean, you've probably had it happen to you. All of you inventors that are listening out there, it's okay if your product's out there, as Marcy said. I mean, I've gotten people who I've signed an NDA, and then they send me their idea, and I'm like, I find 10 of them within minutes.
Isn't that amazing? Me too. And someone has had that product and been working on it for months, if not years, and they never did the search because they didn't want to know. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Because it was so, like you said, you'll go on and immediately you'll find 10 of them.
Correct.
You're thinking,
Correct.
How did they not? So don't be afraid. You got to find that out up front. I mean, knowledge is your friend.
Yeah. And I love what you said. It's okay. I mean, you can think of a better mousetrap. Sometimes, I mean, I get a lot of inventors, and I don't know about you, Marcy, they want to be first to market, or they want to just rush something out there. And I'm like, it's very expensive to be first. And very seldom you are actually first. There's so many things that have been invented that, like you said, we've never even seen or heard of, but it's already been done.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. It's amazing. So yeah, I just love what you're talking about all those things, and I really am glad you're passionate about helping women take their products to market, get these things going, because there are so many great products that I have seen, and not just, again, for the household, but for everything. When women come into our office here, they are so prepared. They're organized, they're ready to go, they know what color they want, they know, and it's just great for us because the organization helps us move things along.
Yeah. Yes. That brings up a point, though. When I heard that statistic that, so few women are actually bringing products to market, I really wanted to kind of analyze what that was about. And one of the things that I think hinders women, it's a good quality and it's a bad quality, kind of a double-edged sword, is that we are such perfectionists. So kind of to your point, how they have all their ducks in a row and perfectly organized, that if one duck is not in that row, we won't move forward. And so I think men are more apt to take risks and to kind of go for it, even though things might not be perfect and might not. Whereas if something doesn't work just right in this process, they're out. So I think that we can take it really far, but then our perfectionism kind of can get in our way.
Yeah.
And so I think, realizing that in the invention process and bringing a product to market, it isn't going to ever usually be exactly perfect. And I learned that with my Style and Go product with HSN, where they did finally have to say to me, Marcy, because I wanted to make it, kept thinking of ideas that I could add, and I wanted to do this. They're like, Marcy, at some point, if you want this to get out there, you actually are going to just have to stop and go.
Yep. Yeah.
And it was a male buyer that said that to me.
Yeah.
And he was so right. And I think about that with every invention that I do now. I'm like, is this that point where I've got to stop perfecting and do it?
Yeah.
And you know what? When you get a product out there, a lot of times it's not even near perfect when you first get it out there. But then you hear from your customers, and people will tell you what they like and they don't like. And there's always chance to do a second version and a revision of it. And, you learn as you go, but at some point, like I said, you gotta hit go.
Yeah. It's so refreshing to hear you say that, because usually it's just me up here preaching that, version 1, just get it out there. It's okay. When a client calls me and they say, I just want it to be perfect, then you don't want to talk to me.
Good for you. Yeah. I wouldn't, when I first started, I would have never said that. I would have said, no, you got to just take your time and get it. But now having been out there in the real world and seeing how it actually works, I do think, and I think that that's kind of an exciting thing to have in your back pocket, knowing that, it kind of motivates me, knowing that it's okay, and that some of my best products I've put out there not perfect, and then over the years I've refined them and made them better, and and then now I do think they're perfect.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I always reference the iPhone and other products. There's 12 versions of the iPhone. If they waited for it to be perfect, they wouldn't have sold all 11 versions, and
right.
You just got to get the product out there. And again, I know what you mean about it. You don't want it to be faulty, but it doesn't have to be the Swiss Army knife of products.
Right. And there is, if you're an inventor, you're always thinking of things to add to it. And at some point, I have learned actually in the home shopping world, there is a point when you have too many features, when there's too much to talk about. And it's kind of like analysis paralysis from the consumer standpoint. So I personally have dumbed down some of my products to have less features so that I can really spend time highlighting the very best features. And if I have too many, I feel spread so thin in my marketing efforts that I end up, I think, losing the customer. And so over time, I've really learned that, do some things really well, but don't feel like you have to do everything in one product.
Yeah. So great. It's so great. I love listening to this, because it's not just me up here preaching everything you're saying 100%, right from the patents, from the first version, from the most valuable product, all the way down the line. I totally agree with you 1,000,000%. Let's jump a little bit, and I'm hoping that we're going to be doing some more shows, and just letting our listeners know we're going to be probably doing some more shows, is that Tell us a little bit about the craziness and the love of the QVC HSN world. Like, how is it doing a show?
Well, you know, not in a million years did I ever dream that I would be doing that. But, you know, when I won the Kelly Ripa show, which I didn't think I was going to win, I don't think. So it was more like, this is going to get me going. And so once I did win, I was like, oh, geez, now I actually have to go on television and do this. So I was panicked, and I, you know, started watching. I never watched Home Shopping before I was on that show. I don't think I'd ever seen it. So I started watching, and I would lay in bed at night and study what I liked and what I didn't like, and what seemed to work and what didn't work. And boy, is Home Shopping addicting. I swore I would never buy any. I mean, it is amazing. They do such a great job. And as I'm watching, I'm starting to buy. At some point I had to stop it. But yeah, so I had to just kind of dive in on my own to learn it. But I developed such a love for selling on television because, I mean, first of all, I think with any inventor, you're so passionate about these products that you make. They, you know, they are your babies, and you want to tell the world about it. So to have that medium where you can speak to literally millions of people and, you know, pour out your heart about how much you love this product and how it works and what it does. And it's a ton of fun. A lot of people don't like doing it. I happen to love it. But, you know, the home shopping world is not easy. It is, it's hard to get in the door. You know, I had a unique circumstance with HSN, but that was just the one product. And then from there, I really was on my own, and I was speaking to different buying teams that didn't know who I was. And it was a lot of no's before I got to yeses. QVC making the move over, I sort of got lured over to QVC in an interesting way. And they were really excited about me because I had, you know, the Simply Solved brand that was simple solutions to everyday problems crossing multiple categories. Whereas HSN, I think, was more wanting to fit me into a sort of a box of being the home org gal. QVC kind of looked at me a little like Laura Grenier, being able to cross all these categories. So they gave me a buyer that would allow me to do that. Because typically when you go into home shopping, if you have a kitchen product, you have a kitchen buyer. And if you have a home org product, you have the home buyer. So this was a unique situation where my products crossed so many. So I had a buyer. I had a ton of support from the very high levels when I got there. We were launching this in a really big way. It was very exciting. And I had a manufacturing partner that I hadn't worked with very long. And what ended up happening was the product that QVC was most excited about, they quote unquote said it's the best organizational product they've seen in 25 years.
Oh, no.
We manufactured, I forget how many thousands of them, but I said to the factory, please send me a few ahead of time so I can start preparing for the on-air demo. And it arrived, and I fell to the floor in tears because it was so bad.
Oh, no.
The quality was so awful. I mean, pieces were coming apart. It was, and this big opportunity that I had worked so hard for and that they were so excited about, I'm getting ready to go on air in 2 weeks. And basically I had to pull the plug, and I couldn't do it. And we sent all of those back to China and bit the bullet. And, you know, at that time, coincidentally, that was when Joyous reached out to me about building home and travel category from the ground up over there. And that was super exciting. Yeah. And I decided to do that while I figured out some really strong manufacturing partners. Wow. And I share that story because I think with new inventors, you just will take anybody to manufacture your product, because it's just so exciting when a manufacturer says, yeah, I'll do it. I mean, that's so cool. And you just assume they all, you know, if you've designed it and you know what it looks like, they're going to be able to execute it.
Of course.
And it's not the case. And they're, you know, you just really have to vet the people that you're working with, because big opportunities can turn upside down instantaneously, as it happened with me.
Wow. You ran into so many ups and downs within such a short amount of time.
Yes.
I mean,
yes,
everything
definitely
got thrown at you.
It did. And I made a decision when I turned 40, on my 40th birthday, that this was a dream I had had for so long, to bring products to market, that no matter what, I was going to do this. And I was going to, I kind of think of that whack-a-mole game at the arcades. Like every obstacle that popped up, I'm going to knock it down and I'm going to keep going. I'm going, come hell or high water, I am going to put one foot in front of the other every single day. And a thing that I still do to this day is I made a commitment to myself that every single day, whatever it is I'm working on, I will take 3 bold moves or 3 bold actions that will move my product forward in a meaningful way. So by that, I mean, whatever scares me the most, I have to do 3 of those each day before I go to bed at night. So it's that phone call I'm afraid to make. It's that, gosh, I can't even think right now, but email campaign I'm going to send out, whatever is scary. And by doing that, it's just amazing how fast you can make things happen. So many of us, I think, spin our wheels on those little tasks because we like to be able to check the boxes, and we do those first. But when you force yourself to do those bold, scary things, that's when the magic happens.
Wow.
And that's when you get on a QVC and an HSN, because you find those people because you're not afraid to go look for them. You're not afraid to reach out to them and make that phone call. You're not afraid. Like I forced myself to go to all these inventor trade shows, not to show my product. I wanted to learn. I wanted to see how other people are doing it. And, typically I would be, I'm not going to get on a plane by myself and fly across the country and go, but that was a bold move for me. And so, whatever they are for you, if this is a dream of yours, I just encourage you to, force yourself to do the scary things first. And I think you'll be amazed by the progress you make.
Yeah. And it's so great to say, but, and tell me if I'm wrong, when you actually do it, do you feel that wasn't so scary?
Yes. For the most part. Yes. It's scary. Well, you know what? A lot of the fear, when you break it down, it's really fear of failure. I think it's fear of, if I make this call and they say no, if I, that it's not going to work out. So you just don't want to do it. It's almost like why we talk about, you don't want to look online to find out if your invention is there, because what if it is? So it's really those fears. And my very favorite quote in the world, and I think most of us know it, but it's so simple, but gosh, it's so good. And I make my kids say it all the time. And that is, feel the fear and do it anyway, because you find that your greatest rewards, without question, are tied to those things that you were the most afraid to do.
Yeah.
And I like I said, taught my kids that from day one. My son, actually, who just went off to college at UT, today's his birthday. Happy birthday, Jack. He started his own company when he was 9, and he became the youngest person ever to sell his own product on QVC.
Wow.
And that was all based on that quote. Everything, I just kept saying, why not? Go for it. What do you have to lose? I know you're afraid, but imagine if it works. And, and awesome. I mean, that experience, that journey was so much fun and so valuable and rewarding. And it shaped him definitely to the person that he is today. And he is a risk taker, and he goes for it and lives life to the fullest. It's amazing to see.
That's so great. When you go to a party or something, does everybody come up to you with ideas?
Yes, definitely. And as I said earlier, my husband's a screenwriter. So everybody has an idea for a screenplay, and everybody has an idea for an invention. So we get a lot of that. Yeah. And that's kind of, I started very preliminary phases, but on my website, marcymckenna.com, I have an inventor tab on there. And when you click that, it takes you to sort of an inventor's hub, because I felt like I needed a place to send, because I don't really have enough time to spend, one-on-one hours with each person that reaches out to me. So I thought, if I can just put my resources, my knowledge in one place that people can go to, that I can refer them to, that would help them and that draws on everything that I've been through, I thought that would be a super valuable thing to do for people. And it's not, a lot of work on my part. I don't, it's in no way, shape, or form do I want it to be like an invention submission company. It's, you know, kind of the antithesis of that. I'm not, I don't believe in those things. Sorry for who
it's okay.
it is. But it, you know, it's just my own knowledge, just wanting to help, and that's it. And so
that's great.
so that's what I've done to kind of, because to your point, there's always someone. And so if I can say to them, you know what, I have so many resources for you, this is a great place to start. I mean, I always try to help when I can. Like if I'm at a party, of course I'll talk to people, but at some point I want to be able to help as many people as I can with the limited time that I have.
Yeah, well, I think you're doing that, and I really think it's awesome how not only you explain it so easily understandable as we went through these steps, but I think you're going to, in the future, you're going to be helping a lot of people, and I'm glad that you started this. Really have.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
pretty awesome.
One of the things I just want to say that I was excited that I'm just putting up on the page now is because we've talked so much about female inventors. I do have sort of my little black book of resources specifically for females.
Great.
And there's so many out there that, you know, I have learned about over the years, but God, I wish somebody had given me that list when I first started. And it's free. There's, you know, you could just go there and download it. But everything from grants for female inventors and entrepreneurs to, you know, legal pro bono and all kinds of things that can help make the process not nearly as daunting and scary and not cost as much. I just, you know, I want to be able to take as many obstacles like that out of the way for women so that we can take that measly 4% and grow it into something meaningful.
Yeah, and I think you're on your way. I think it's going to be great. Awesome. Again, everyone listening out there, marcymckenna.com. By the way, your website is really good. I mean, it's very easy to get around. I saw the submission page, which I think is really a great idea. Like you said, it's a lot easier than going, tell me about it, you know?
Yeah.
So I totally agree. Are you going to be on QVC or HSN in anywhere future that people can watch?
I am. I don't have my exact air dates now. I have a big shipment of product coming in. It's actually on the water now. It should be, I think we're going to be launching beginning of November. Some products on HSN, and then I'm really excited launching in a big way in Shopping Channel Canada, where I'm going to have my own show, and we're doing not only right now on HSN, I'm doing mostly travel related products, but so many of them are just as just as helpful at home as they are for travel. So it's kind of crosses both home and travel. But at Shopping Channel Canada, or it's actually today's Shopping Choice now, they just changed the name.
Oh, they changed it.
We're doing a big show that's really, it's called Beautifully Organized by Marcy McKenna. And so it's going to be all kinds of organizational solutions, kind of going back to the QVC days of crossing into multiple categories, but sort of aspirational, kind of fashionable organizational solutions, but accessible to the masses, that are affordable, but, you know, thinking about, you know, beautiful cosmetic cases and jewelry armoires and jewelry organizers and, you know, closet organizers that are, you know, inspired by celebrity closets and things like that. So these are all, to me, really fun things to develop. And so I'm having a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, it sounds, when you're speaking about it, that you're smiling. It just sounds like a fun, you know, way of making products and selling them, getting them out to people. I know we only got a few seconds left. What is your feeling when you see people like in an airport or traveling with your products? I mean, it must be so cool to see that.
It's so cool. That's the most rewarding thing, when you see someone actually using your product. It's a lot of fun, definitely.
Yeah, it really
Hopefully I'll be seeing many more of them soon.
Oh yeah. Well, and again, we got to do this much more often. We're going to talk about that. And then, you know, for all you listeners out there, go on to marcymckenna.com. If you can, please go on out to Google Play or iTunes, wherever you listen to your podcast shows, and subscribe to our network. We would love to hear reviews and suggestions. For myself, Carmen Dinisco, and for Marcy McKenna, we thank you for listening today, and we will catch you next time on the Inventors Launchpad Show. You all take care.